Hello and welcome to another episode of Guiding You Home. My name's Travis Avila and I'm talking with Jeff and Bobby today about appraisals and really the top 5 reasons why, or at least 5 reasons why they can really stink and what to do about it if you run across these problems. So glad you joined us. Welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by Keller Williams Realty Central Coast. If you've ever been listening to our podcast and thought, gosh, if these clowns can do real estate, anyone can. Well, you're probably right. So Bobby, if people are interested in having a career in real estate, what should they do?
They should reach out to me, 805-888-9397, and I will show you all the things we have to get licensed and the resources to get started in a career in real estate today.
Awesome. Thanks, Bobby. Now back to the episode. Hey guys, we're talking appraisals.
All things
why
appraisals.
They suck. They don't always suck, but sometimes they can. We've got 5 reasons why you might run into problems.
Let's be honest. Some appraisers are awesome, and then some you're like, oh, dang, I got that guy. He just likes to create issues.
Well, hey, yeah. Well, hopefully you don't get that guy or gal that causes issues. But if you do, here's how you can get out of it and keep the deal together. We got 5 things we want to cover. But before we do that, Jeff, tell us what an appraisal is. Who orders it? What does it tell you? What's the point?
Okay, yeah, so actually appraisals are most of the time designed to protect the bank and their investment into the property. So I don't know, banks are pretty cool because they invest all this money along for you to be able to buy a property. So they go ahead and like, let's say it's $1 million purchase and you're putting down 20%. So you're putting down $200K. The bank's putting down $800K of their money to help you get that home. Does the bank have any ownership in the house?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
No ownership.
Well, they own the they own the debt, I guess.
They get the debt.
Yeah.
And they get a first deed of trust to a note saying that you'll pay them back. But besides that, they have no ownership of the house, meaning that they don't get to experience any of the equity or appreciation that the house has. So they're taking a huge risk to help us buy a home. Now they get to lend out, there's a whole banking system, but they get to lend out 3 times the amount of money they have in reserves. So there's a whole arbitrage that they get that we don't get. But besides that,
Appraisal, Jeff.
They're the
Stick
ones
to the appraisal,
who
Jeff. The appraisal.
get to make it possible for us all to own homes. The appraisal is what protects them from maybe making a bad investment. The bank doesn't really want to do or doesn't really know what the house is worth, so they hire an appraiser to make sure that they're not investing in a bad asset.
That's great. So they order the appraisal and it comes back and it does a few things. One, it tells you they can appraise it based on different things, and we don't need to get into that exactly, but it tells you what the appraiser feels like that home is valued at, and if there's anything subject to, which we'll get into later. But that's generally it. And it protects the buyer, you know? I mean, it's like buyers don't want to overpay for a property, so it will tell them if this appraiser believes, based on comps, if they're overpaying for the home. Okay, so number 1, why appraisals can suck is if they don't come in at value, they can be a real deal killer.
For both the buyer and seller, it sucks because usually, I'm going to say this, sometimes appraisers want to make a point and they really feel strongly that that house is overpriced or something, and they're going to be the ones that fix the market. Usually they're not like that, but if that's the guy who's trying to do that or the gal that's trying to do that, then it's like, oh gosh, it's going to be an uphill battle.
So it's rare that appraisals come in overvalue, but if they do, then that's great. You know, the buyer has immediate equity in the home.
They just don't tell the seller.
Yeah. But if they don't, Jeff, if it's undervalue, what happens?
So then you have to make a price adjustment or come in with more money. I mean, that's the two options. So either the seller says, yeah, I'll reduce the price, or the buyer has to come in with more money down.
Or they meet in the middle or something.
Meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is typically what happens.
Yeah, because the bank's not going to lend on a value that's over what it appraises at. You know, if the delta is like $20,000 between the two, then, you know, the buyer will have to come in with $20,000 cash in closing. It's not always 1-to-1, but pretty darn close.
And maybe they were going to use that $20,000 to do a little remodel or fix it up. So now all of a sudden they're like, dang it, I don't get to do my remodel. But that's something that we see happen quite a bit.
That's also something that an educated agent is going to probably see coming. So that conversation hopefully would have happened ahead of time. A lot of times we're not necessarily blindsided by the appraisal.
That's a good point because, you know, and we'll get into, you know, markets that are really aggressive. And there's actually a tactic that if you know that you're going to be putting in an offer and it won't appraise, you can, you know, well, you can try to waive the appraisal, or you can have, appraisal gap.
Yeah, we write that in aggressive markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's
Aggressive markets.
Aggressive markets. Okay, so number one, when they don't come in at value, it can really kill the deal. There's protecting the buyer, there's protecting the bank, but if the seller won't budge, it can just not be good. Number two, some appraisers will call out things that are called subject to. What does that mean, Jeff?
And it is designed again to protect the bank. They don't want to sell an asset or have the bank become partners on an asset. I like that. Partners, and that's basically what they are. That has some like major defects. So that could be something like a roof that's failing. It could be like there's I saw one for like a VA where the concrete was all up and down outside, and it was like, hey, there's a tripping hazard, safety thing. It could be things as simple as smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And usually the listing agents have those installed beforehand. But like, let's say you miss a smoke somewhere, or a smoke detector somewhere. Like most appraisers won't call that out because they're like, hey, we're just going to get this thing through. But sometimes they like to come out again and charge $100 to take a picture of that new smoke detector. And you're like, come on, can we take the picture? No, we're coming out. So that does happen sometimes.
Yeah, and if you're doing a flip or a rehab and you're not cash or you're not private or whatever it is, and it can be really tough if you get some subject twos that's like, yeah, I know this property needs rehab.
I mean, that's what when you're really going for a flip and the house has like dilapidated type issues, you're like really hoping to go conventional because it makes it way cheaper to do than maybe a private party loan or something.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. The money's cheaper, but you're like crossing your fingers the whole time that they don't call out some of the more major issues. Maybe there's a deck that's falling or something like that. They probably will.
And we should say not so much on the subject twos, but on the appraised value. Appraisers are open. I mean, when we are, you can ask for them to assess. Oh, you might have missed XYZ comp. You've been through this,
Bobby.
Yeah. No, I've been through that. But
what did you do?
I went through with a highlighter and basically called out everything that they didn't get right. And so that's the thing is we're all doing the best we can. We're doing our job. Sometimes they get busy. I shouldn't say a lot. I've had appraisers use old reports and just change out the address because maybe there was a house close by that they were using a previous report on. So as an agent, you have to read the report, which is a detail that we got to remind people, all the little things we do, right? And then sent my own comps. And, we don't just come up with a number out of the air. We know what's selling around there. And we'll get into that later. But sometimes these appraisers aren't from the area. They don't have all the information we do. So we just are generous with it. And we share it with a smile.
And the baseball bat, that helped.
That helped
the baseball.
too, yeah. The threat. Yeah, it all worked out.
I do want to say like the appraisers that we work with our banks that like they have a pool of appraisers, and like the banks that we work with, they filter out the people that cause the issues. So like this stuff doesn't come up very often, but like once in a while I have a client that's like, no, I'm using this bank from this out of town. They're going to give me the best rate or whatever. And then it's like, oh, here we go. And sure enough, this type of stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Number two was subject twos. Number one was value. Number three, Bobby, you kind of alluded to when appraisers maybe just don't know the market. They're not educated. Why is that a problem?
That can be a huge problem. This is actually one of the first things I do when I talk to the appraiser is I'm like asking them questions and kind of getting to know them personally. And inside my head, I'm like, okay, now I know how to set the expectations for my clients. Like, is this potentially going to be an issue? This guy is coming up from out of the area just to do this, to pick up work, whatever it is. But really, we know how much detail is necessary for pricing in our area from neighborhood to neighborhood, from street to street in some neighborhoods. We know why the values are higher or lower. So we definitely, we need people to understand that.
I appreciate appraisers that, that maybe are like from a different city or like, and maybe they work more in North County and then they come in South County just to get this one fulfilled. And they call me as the listing agent, like, hey, like, how did you get the value? Like, what should I be looking for? Is there anything I'm missing? Like, I have these comps. Is there any other ones that you know of?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll just ask you. They'll say, give me whatever information you have. I'm happy to look at it, which is great. I love those ones too.
Yeah, and it's helpful. And it's like, hey, this is nice to have this conversation beforehand instead of like get the appraisal and be like, oh, now we have a fire drill.
Well, I mean, this is why Zestimates and other things are just really challenging because, it's not just a formula to achieve like a home's value. There's all kind. It's like just as much an art as it is a science. And this is something you're super good at, Jeff, valuing homes. But there's a lot of factors that go into it. And so, it's hard to do.
I had an agent like this last month ask me like, how did you come with that price? And I was like, gut instinct. And she's like, seriously? I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And then like the next day I got like a full price, like exact offer.
Easy to say gut instinct though, when you have all that, you live in it.
You live in it,
You're being fed constantly. You're basically studying without realizing it.
And appraisers don't like look at the, like, okay, so Bobby Kelly goes in and you see staging, right? And she like makes the house all cute. I'm like, oh yeah, cute sells. Like it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think we know that better than appraisers know that typically. We know what people's, like how they're going to react to a house.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, number 4. The comps are just outdated based on the market. It could be in a fast-paced market. Maybe the comps are low. In a declining market, the comps are high. Why is this a problem, Jeff?
Ooh, you're going to me. Bobby's been doing such a good job answering these, I thought maybe. But yeah, I think we saw a lot of this a few years back when the rates were really low. You'd see people like just like really bidding up the prices. So we were seeing like even 2%. There were some months that were close to 3% increase in value, right?
Yeah.
So like you're going in and the appraisers are looking at the comps that just sold. That's all they can use. That's like it's a snapshot in time. It's not like going with the market.
It's already history.
It's back. Yeah, you're looking back.
And you don't know what today is going to show for the numbers, right? You don't know is it going down or up, but you can have a feeling. So we saw a lot of the appraisers going like, oh man, I can't go there. Like I just can't write that number. I can't go there because I don't have the comps to support it. That's fair. And I felt for the appraisers in that market, like this sucks for you guys. Like this is hard. So what ended up happening in that market, not just us, but basically all agents were writing in appraisal gaps. It's like, hey, if it doesn't appraise, we'll make up the difference up to 50K, up to 100K. We had certain ones that say, we'll just make up any appraisal gap. Like it doesn't matter. And so that's how that was working. And people were getting 2% money, so they didn't care. It's like, let's just get the house and we'll get the 2.5%, 3% money.
But also so comps are one factor, but if you have a property with multiple offers all above ask or all relatively close to one another, they do take that into account.
Totally.
Like everybody, all 5 people are willing to pay this price. That dictates value in a lot of cases.
Yeah. So what you're showing them evidence then.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like, hey, there's evidence that the market supports this. Sweet.
Number 5, pocket communities. Jeff, what do you mean by this, and why is this an issue when it comes to appraisals?
When I think of a pocket community, I think there's different definitions of this, and we're seeing pocket communities get built. But like this could be something like a 55 and over community. Mm-hmm. It could be a group of houses that were built at the same time with a gate, even without a gate, but they were all built at the same time, and maybe they have some amenities. So they're very kind of like unique to each other.
We're dealing with this right now with one of our listings.
That's true.
In real time.
Yeah. So it's like, this is a unique community that people want to be in, or maybe don't want to buy in sometimes, right? Like this is like a unique community.
Yeah.
And it's different. So, and it's still single family maybe, but it's like a different type of product for single family.
Yeah.
And
so just looking in a radius on a map won't cut it.
Yeah.
You have to know. That's another thing, like to Bobby's point, you got to know the market.
Got to know the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we've seen this, right, Bobby? It's like you see different agents that like really focus in certain communities. Like we have a bunch of agents that just do that.
Yeah.
And like one might be Monarch or like I don't know.
Yeah, the golf course communities.
Golf courses,
the
communities.
gated communities, yeah.
Yeah, 55 and over, mobile home park communities. I'm trying to think of other ones. Just those little
I mean, even ranches and stuff like that on some level, there's great agents who specialize in, ranch type properties.
Yeah.
So maybe they're like spread across the county, but it's a very specific type of asset that you need to know about.
Yeah,
So.
That's so true. And for example, like we get calls from other agents saying, hey, I'm going to price this 5-acre property. Like, and we know what people would pay for those properties. Like we really know those well.
Right.
So an appraiser comes in and looks at, let's say it's a 55 and over community, and there's like not been many sales, or maybe it's a unique, twin home community, and there's just people have stayed there for a long time. And he's like, I don't know how to price it. So he grabs, different properties from different areas, and his adjustment is less. But honestly, these are such a unique community. Everybody wants to be in these that they're actually more. He doesn't know, or she doesn't know the value of that community. So it's those unique features are really hard. The desirability is very hard to just know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So
It's not an easy job. We respect it.
we do.
I'm thankful I don't do it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
You don't, for as much as they have to do, it's not like, it's like a volume job.
Yeah.
Like they need to be like dialed, going.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, let's recap. Number one, first issue is when the appraisal doesn't come in at value. Number two is when it comes in with a bunch of subject twos.
My least favorite. I hate that.
Number three, an appraiser cannot be educated on the market, which could throw off their appraisal value. Number four, they're outdated. Comps are outdated when the market's going fast, one way or another. And number five, you've got really specific pocket communities where, just pulling a radius won't exactly get you there. So that's pretty good. Anything else, Bobby?
I don't think so. I think you covered it. Good work, guys.
Rock and roll.
We did it. Hey, thanks you guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Dude, if people want to use us, man.
Oh yeah, we're actually real estate agents.
We are agents. We know about this stuff.
Podcasters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for someone that you would like to represent you, Travis and myself, we do this full time. It's how we make our living. We love working with people. We love serving people. We love housing. We love talking about all this stuff. It's exciting. But there's what we care more about than even that is getting people into the house of their dreams, bringing their dreams home. So we love that. And there's nothing like having that become
or
a
getting you
reality.
top dollar if you're selling. I mean, this was so fun.
So fun.
So yeah, just reach out at info@landmarkslo.com.
Booyah.
Thanks.